with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's the podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week, I am joined by an Alberta native who grew up on a cattle ranch before chasing his musical dreams. He just released a new song featuring an iconic pop group, and he's here to tell us all about that and so much more. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Brett Kissel. Brett, how the heck are you, buddy?
If I was any better, probably have to complain it's too good. I'll tell you that. Things are looking up.
Awesome. I'm excited to chat about what you've got going on, this project with 98 Degrees, and a little bit of Edmonton Oilers trivia. We'll tee off with Brett next.
It's time to tee off with Ty and today's guest, Brett Kissel. Here comes the first four.
Okay, here we go, Brett. Question number one. If you couldn't be in the entertainment industry, what job would you have?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'd probably be a cattle rancher. I loved growing up on the farm. And now that I get older and I realize, I think my grandparents really had it figured out. No one's there to tell you what to do. Kind of like John Dutton, Try to tell John Dutton at the Yellowstone Ranch what to do, So I think I'd be a cattle rancher, and I'd, plant crops, chase cows, calve out cows, plant a garden, and live my life out in the country.
I was like, that sounds like the life, my friend.
Well, and you know what? George Strait has been able, I think, to do both. And he's the guy that I look up to, for 100 different reasons, but incredible entertainer, outstanding singer, just a guy's guy. Everybody loves George Strait. And still, when he's off the road, he goes back home to probably his big ranch out in Texas somewhere, and just chases cows and team ropes and stuff like that. I'm like, man, George Strait's got it figured out.
That is the life for sure. For sure. Okay, how about this one? If I give you control of the music at a party, what's the first song you're going to play to get everybody up and moving?
Well, here's the thing, because that's a trick question. It all depends on what the demographic is like.
Ooh, there you go.
Who's there?
Okay.
Are we all in suits? Is it a bachelor party? Is it, am I DJing, for my wife and all her girlfriends on a ladies' night out? Is this a kid's party? Is it a fifth birthday? Because if it's a fifth birthday, I'm playing Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol will be there on the double. Or if it's just, so it all depends. But so if you go scenario by scenario, it's about having the instinct to know what that song is going to be. It's going to take your party to the next level. And sometimes it may not even be this, rock song or this up-tempo song. Sometimes it's about a well-placed Elton John Tiny Dancer,
Ooh, there you
and
go.
Everybody loves it. Or sometimes, it's just deciding to play Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. Sometimes it's deciding, you know what this party needs? Fishing in the Dark by Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So it all depends. So I can't really answer that until you and I are in a room and we're surrounded by a bunch of people. Then you nudge me and you'd be like, BK, what song are we going to play? And I'll be able to tell you that.
Well, we've got a new goal now. Now we need to be in the same room at a party, and I'm just going to hand you my phone and let you go.
100%.
Okay, how about this one? What fictional character from a TV show or a movie or a book or wherever, would you bring to life and hang out with for a day?
Okay, can you repeat that? You cut out just a little bit.
Yeah. What fictional character from a TV show, a movie, a book, wherever, would you bring to life and hang out with for a day?
Ooh, Peter Griffin.
Oh, okay.
I think Peter Griffin, because he does the craziest stuff and he gets away with it all. So if I actually just wanted no consequence in life, I'd go to the bar with Peter and all of his buddies, and we would just get into trouble. And that way I know by the end of the episode, Seth MacFarlane will just, put a bow on it and I'll be safe and he'll be good, I'll be good, and we move on. I think Peter Griffin would be a blast. I don't know if my liver could handle it, but I think I'd do a lot of laughing.
Yeah, I think there's only so much Pawtucket ale that you can drink there. But that is a great answer.
Yeah, it would be Peter Griffin. Yeah, to live life with no consequences. Yeah.
Yep, that is it for sure. Okay, last question of the first four. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything, scotch tape, guitar strings, whiskey, tacos, whatever it is other than money, what would it be?
Okay. I would say time.
Okay. I like it.
Just, I could go materialistic and yeah, talk about, I don't know, guitars or all the whiskey in the world. But I'm only 31. But as I watch my grandparents age, as I watch my children grow up, I just truly wish that I could slow down time at minimum, or choose at any given time, like Adam Sandler and Click. I would never want to fast forward anything, but I would sure love to rewind. So if I had that magic remote and I had this infinite amount of something, it would be time.
You nailed it, my friend. All 4 of those questions. Spot on answers. I love it.
Thank you.
So that was the first 4. Thanks for playing along with us. But now let's get to know you a little bit. Give us a story of growing up in Alberta. Tell us how you got into music, because you started playing music kind of right when you started school, right?
Yeah, I really did. When I was this little kid, I'm 6 years old. It's Christmas, and I come down the stairs to the Christmas tree, and I am so expecting a Lego castle, because I loved Lego, and that's what I asked for Christmas for Santa. And I'm like, I know it's going to be there, and there was no Lego in sight, except there was this odd shaped gift that happened to be a guitar. And, obviously looking back now, I'm so grateful that I got that guitar, because it changed my life. And from the time I was 6, 7, I would just play. And I would sit on the counter as a little kid, or the island, and I would sit right beside the radio, and I didn't take any formal lessons. What I would do is I had 3 minutes when a song would come on the radio. It would be a George Strait, Amarillo by Morning, or My Maria by Brooks and Dunn, or whatever song it would be. I had 3 minutes to learn that song, because obviously then it's a commercial and you don't hear it again. So I was learning really quickly about these sounds and tuning my guitar. And it was a pretty unique way to kind of grow up and learn country music on the fly.
That's really cool. Did you come from a musical family at all?
No. And that's what's interesting about this whole thing. Not at all. Like, not even a bit. Not a cousin, not an auntie, not an uncle. Nobody sang, nobody played. My grandma, though, she did play piano at church, but she was kind of like the second string quarterback. Ruth Snyder was she was the MVP at the little local United Church. She was the one who played piano. But if Ruth went down, then my grandma Betty would play. And so for me, that was the only person in my life that ever played music. But again, she played church songs. She played Amazing Grace, and In the Garden, and at Christmas time she played all the hymns. But for me, playing country music, it was the wildest experience for all of my family, because they're all like, I can't believe you're doing this, because nobody would teach me. I would just tell my mom and my dad or my grandparents, hey, look at this song I learned. It's by Johnny Cash. I guess it's called I Walk the Line. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. And I just loved it. I just loved the genre.
So when you were that young, were you trying to write anything yourself, or was it all just kind of covers and figuring out the instrument in general?
It was all covers, and I didn't really want to write songs. I felt there were so many songs for me to learn, especially, once not that I graduated out of country, I never left country. I always loved the genre, but my dad, introduced me to classic rock, from Guns N' Roses and AC/DC, but the earlier stuff like Eagles and Doobie Brothers and CCR, Elton John. So I felt that there were millions of songs that I still had to learn. And as a 14-year-old, I didn't know what to write about. I mean, we didn't have a dog, so I couldn't write a country song about a dog. I didn't have my license, so I couldn't write about trucks. I never had a girlfriend, and I was too young to drink. So what the hell kind of country music can I write if my 4 topics aren't possible? So I just played covers. And unlike a lot of the prolific writers like Taylor Swift or a lot of these other guys that you may interview, or you may have interviewed over the course of your career, but they were prolific songwriters who had a story to tell, and they just wanted to get it out and just write and write and write. And me, I didn't want to write. I didn't want to write at all all I wanted to do was play and play and play. And then when I started to write songs in my late teens, it was more a means to an end, because I had a few record labels and managers saying, unless you write your own songs, we're not going to really look at you. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll give this thing a try. And to a degree, I enjoy it. And I think I've written some pretty cool songs, but I'm not as prolific as some of these guys in Nashville that just knock me out. They'll write 200 songs a year and all of them are hits. And I might just at this point write like 15 or 20 songs a year and hope for the best.
Well, and you kind of hit on something I think is pretty important there about when you grew up. Fun fact, you were actually born the day before me in 1990. So we kind of have the same shared growth experience, especially with music. I feel like our generation kind of came about at exactly the right time to be young enough to appreciate some of the music from the 70s and 80s, even the 60s a little bit, and work that into our repertoire with what we listen to on a regular basis. Do you still find yourself going back to some of those older songs and listening to those?
Oh, buddy, I've never heard it put, and I've never had anybody put it, together so well as you just did, in terms of really honoring the generation that you and I come from, and being very, very proud of being kids of, the beginning of the 90s in 1990, and having all the great music to, listen to that came before us, and be at the forefront, or at least alive, while a lot of, the best music in the world was being created in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I look back a lot, and I'm always listening to songs of previous generations. And even my management and, people on my team are encouraging me to really focus on a lot of the new stuff and listen to the new sounds. But you know what? It's not that I'm set in my ways, but I just love tradition so much, and the stories of yesterday so much, that I would sooner, go to my dad's vinyl collection, crack a cold one with my old man, play some Eagles music, and ask him, Dad, tell me a story about the first time you heard Take It Easy in 1972. And then my dad will just open up and be like, yeah, I had, an old Chevy truck, and it was 72, and I was hauling bales with Grandpa, and I hear this song on the radio, and I couldn't believe how good it was. And then I went and I saw the Eagles play in 1980, and like, it's those kind of stories I love. Nothing against this great app and TikTok, or the access that we all have now because of Spotify and Apple Music and social media. But I mean, I'm not concerned about the current TikTok trend. I want to sit down with my grandpa and say, did you ever see Johnny Cash in concert? And if you did, what was it like? That's the shit I'm passionate about.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, so we just moved down here to Las Vegas about 9 months ago or so. And my mom was down here just visiting, kind of helping us get everything situated. Have you been to Vegas before?
Oh my God, absolutely.
So, okay, I figured you seem like the kind of guy that enjoys this city as much as we do. Have you been to Fremont Street?
Yeah, I've been to Fremont Street. The Golden Nugget has taken a considerable amount of my money. But when I was just there in 2019, I think over the last 3-4 years where I've left Vegas down in terms of, playing blackjack and playing cards and stuff like that, I got it all back from the Golden Nugget in April of 2019. So I don't mind, holding my hands up in the air like I scored an overtime winner, because I did it in front of the boys at a bachelor party, and it was able to pay for the whole trip thanks to some hot cards at the Golden Nugget. So yes, I spent a lot of time on Fremont, and I love Vegas. Back in pre-COVID, I'd probably go 2-3 times a year just because I love the city so much. Go watch shows and eat and gamble and just have a wonderful time.
Definitely. So you'll get this. So my mom was here. It was her first time in Vegas in like 15 years, close to, and we were walking down Fremont Street, and there was a cover band playing Def Leppard, and I've never seen my mom stop and dance like that, but she did. We watched them, they played for a little bit, and when we walked away, she just had a bunch of stories about her teenage years and about what that song meant and about what the band meant, and I'm completely in agreement with you that's I would much rather sit around and listen to my family, friends, whoever talk about how the music of their childhood or of growing up really impacted them versus scrolling through TikTok for 2 hours.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of people in this generation that love to discover things on the newest and the latest and the greatest app. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you and I think, really are cut from the same cloth in terms of understanding legacy and having really good conversations with those who came before us and understanding what culture and what life was like then. Tradition and the olden days and the way things were before are some of the things I'm the most passionate about. And I'm really trying to bring, some of those, I guess, sounds or elements into the music that I do today and try my very best to at least be a bridge between the old and the new and do that over the course. And that's kind of one of my big goals in my 30s, being 31 now. I'm going to be 32 here in a couple of days.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah, exactly. At least we're in our early 30s. We are very much in our prime, buddy. We are very much in our prime. And I'm excited that I get to be, one of those guys, as you do too, to bridge the gap. And my wife will play new music for my kids. But if they're ever going to ask, hey, Dad, can we listen to some music for on a drive? I can say, yeah, but it's got to be classic rock today. It's got to be classic country. And so they know just as much about George Strait and Alan Jackson and Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard as they do about the latest and greatest Disney song.
See, and that is definitely the way to do it. I've got a record player, and my son always comes in. He's 8. He's like, can we listen to another record today? Absolutely, buddy. Anytime, because that's really what it's about. And you yourself, you've got kind of a connection back to that time. Tell everybody about this encounter with Danny Hooper.
Well, Danny Hooper is a living legend here in the province of Alberta as an entertainer, a country singer, and now an MC and a fundraising auctioneer. He's a guy who can do it all. Danny, in the year 1995, I'm 5 years old, and he came and did a classic country tribute show in our hometown of St. Paul. And that was the first time I met him. He brought me up on stage. I sang a song with him. And I'm just so grateful for that friendship that is now transpired over the last, 26, 27 years. It's interesting. I saw Danny at the Edmonton Oilers hockey game last night, him and his wife, Barbie, and we had a beer together and a really good visit. He's off to Italy today on a special kind of vacation and holiday. And I just loved it. And I'm so grateful that a guy who was my hero when I was growing up, who's still a heroic figure in my life, is a guy that, we can be friends with today. He taught me a lot of great lessons about entertainment. That's for sure.
That is fantastic. Is it true that he brought you up on stage for your first time ever?
Absolutely. And that's kind of the beginning of this addiction that I have to performing and being up on stage. And had it not been for Danny, I just don't know what, where I would have been or what I would have done.
And again, you make another great point there that addiction of being up on stage, I think is something that you can't really describe to folks unless they've been up there. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush, no matter what you're doing up on stage. It's an adrenaline rush like no other, really. And you've been doing it, since you were really young. On top of being on stage, you released your first album when you were just 12. And this is probably kind of a hard question to answer because you don't know anything different. At 12, that's just what you were doing. But what was that like, being so young, recording and releasing your first album before most kids have even picked up an instrument?
Well, for me, I think it was just all kind of part of my upbringing and the path that the universe chose for me. And because of that, I'm so grateful that I have all these great memories, and I'm only 31, but I feel like I've lived, 2 or 3 or 4 lifetimes. So I have so much gratitude for the early days of my career and my life as a kid, playing these shows and learning these lessons. Great lessons, sometimes very hard lessons. So I just look back on it all with a lot of fond memories. I can tell you that.
Well, and I think the first time that I ever heard your name just kind of out of anywhere was in the middle of the NHL lockout. Like, God, what was that? That was probably 10 years ago now. And
2012.
I stumbled across this song called Hockey Please Come Back. And judging by the music video, it's fairly safe to assume that you're an Oilers fan, and now we've talked about it. That's definitely true. But give us the story behind this song and that video, really.
Well, it's interesting because that song 10 years ago went viral before I think viral was really even a term.
Yeah, for sure.
And so during the lockout, with me being such a passionate hockey fan, one day my wife, I'm looking at, all of her recorded shows on our TV, and it's Real Housewives of New Jersey, Real Housewives of New York, Real Housewives of Orange County, Real Housewives of LA, Real Housewives, like, oh my, I'm like, if hockey was on right now, I wouldn't have to subject myself to this absolute, to this dramatic, wild television, these programs here that, I mean, some people say it's trash. Some people say this is the greatest entertainment that there is on TV. I'm indifferent. I just know that I love hockey and I'm so mad that it's not here. So my wife, Cecilia, we were just married for a year, and she says, well, why don't you write a song about it? So I did. I went upstairs and I grabbed my guitar, and it was like a song to hockey. Like I was talking about hockey as if hockey is my love. And I said, we don't know what we did wrong. I don't think we're to blame. We stood in line and we bought our season tickets to watch our favorite game. And I thought it was just a one-time thing because we'd been through this before. And we cried our tears and we drove our spouses crazy, but that was back in 2004, And is there something we can, something I can say? Is there something we can do? Because I can't last another minute alone without you. Please come back. Oh, hockey, please come back. And then I called my buddy who's a video director, and he's like, yeah, I'll do this for you. I mean, yeah. So we did a video with all my friends, put it up on YouTube. We got like 100,000 views in a day. And Hockey Night in Canada picked it up. And before you know, Don Cherry's talking about it. And Sidney Crosby tweets about it. Like, this song is hilarious. So it was really cool to have a viral story that was all inspired by my disgruntled approach to all of the recorded Desperate Housewives shows.
That's fantastic. I mean, that had to be like a childhood dream come true to have Don Cherry, like, not just know who you are, but actually talk about something that you created.
Yeah. And he did. And like, that was the coolest thing also for my big brother, who I know he likes music, but at that point, I don't think he really gave, excuse my language, but I don't really think he gave a shit about my career. He's my big brother, okay. Yeah. I guess my brother's a country singer, and all right, maybe he'll grow up and get a real job one day. But now all of a sudden, the Oilers are playing it, and radio is playing this song. And my brother's like, this is really cool. And the reality was it was really cool. And I'm just really, really proud of that moment. And I haven't talked about that song in what feels like a decade. So the fact that you brought it up is also really cool.
Well, glad that I can help. I mean, and circling back to the Oilers thing, I assume that you've been an Oilers fan your whole life, growing up that close to the city.
Absolutely. And here's an interesting statistic: is that it was right around the day I was born, in the year 1990, that the Oilers won their last Stanley Cup against Boston. So my brother and my dad think that I might be the curse of the team. Okay. But that being said, I think we have a real good chance to go deep in the playoffs this year. So I'm really excited about our franchise, and our big win against LA, just the other night, and I'll be doing an anthem for them coming up. Looks like Game 5. So it's going to be great.
That's really cool. And just a little connection there. So Kyler Yamamoto is from Spokane, the same town that I'm from. He played for the Chiefs there for his junior team, but he actually played some high school hockey with my little brother, just being in that same area. So the Oilers have been a team that I've had my eyes on the last couple of years. I don't really have a favorite NHL team just because I was around junior hockey for so long, but they are a fun team to watch this year. That is for sure. Oh,
they certainly are. And, next time I see Kyler, I'm going to have a conversation about that and ask him about the good days in Spokane. He was in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and he and a few of the boys came out. I got them tickets to watch John Mayer with me in Nashville. We had a suite, and we were throwing back a couple of drinks and everything like that. And it was pretty fun spending time with the guys. I just loved it.
That's funny. My producer, if you drop the name Bruce to him, he'll know exactly who you're talking about. He was the assistant equipment guy there for a little while. So if you tell him that you talked about Bruce, he'll know exactly who you're talking about.
And and as long as you let me know the last name. So the equipment manager for the Chiefs?
Yeah, for the Chiefs.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I'll probably see Kyler in a couple days.
Yeah, so you're going out there, you're doing the national anthem, which I've got to commend you for, because you survived what I think might be my worst nightmare, where you were singing the national anthem and then the mic died. Give us that story and then how you felt during that.
Well, we have a sound check, which is interesting because obviously it didn't mean anything, because we do our sound check at like 5:30 and the puck drops at 7:30 and everything worked out. And then when I went back out to the mic during the playoffs, a couple of years ago, it just wasn't working. It wasn't working in the arena. Now it's a separate, wireless feed to the truck that broadcasts to television, but it worked for TV, but it didn't work in the arena. So, I mean, you have one of two choices. If you're faced with that very big moment in your career in entertainment and in showbiz, you either hit the ditch and you leave and there's not a whole lot you could do about it, or you just put your hands up and start to conduct a crowd of 19,000 people, which is what we did. And I'm really, really proud that Oil Country, who get all the credit, they're the ones who bailed me out, because they sang the American national anthem better than anybody else could have ever done. And that, again, was a very beautiful viral moment, which, as you said at the very beginning, kind of teeing this up, if you are going to mess up on an anthem, it's a very negative, viral moment that lasts on SportsCenter top 10 mishaps forever. Whereas this now lives on SportsCenter's top 10 feel-good moments in sport on a bunch of different levels and a bunch of different platforms. So the Edmonton Oilers fans get all the credit on that one.
I remember seeing the videos from that, and it was just an incredible moment to watch that. And I had no idea that you were the one there with the microphone when I was watching it originally. But good on you getting back out there. I think I might be a little bit gun shy if that happened to get back out there, but you're doing it again. I'm proud of you.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Anthems in general don't scare me, because I'm not that singer's singer. You know what I mean? Like Christina Aguilera is an extraordinary singer. Shay Mooney from Dan and Shay is an extraordinary singer. And when they're doing the anthem, they have a real opportunity to show off their chops and to show off how good they are. Well, me, I mean, I'll just say it like it is. I don't have a lot of talent. So my job is very simple. Sing the song well, sing it fast, get off the ice, drop the puck, and let's play some hockey.
I like it. And as somebody that works in that realm of game day production also, I appreciate that from an anthem singer.
Well, we've all heard those 4-minute anthems. Oh, say, can you see? Oh my God, this is taking so long. And then you're like, and you finish your beer in the 4 minutes. That takes, nobody wants that. Just, get off the field, get off the ice. Let's play some hockey.
A real fans fan. That is fantastic. But I want to pivot a little bit now and talk about what you've got going on. First off, you put out an album, I think just over a year ago now, called What Is Life, which I think is the perfect title for an album that was released dead smack in the middle of a global pandemic. But you open that album with a 2-minute monologue that I think is really, really powerful. Where did that idea come from?
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, for me, the biggest thing was about setting the intention for the listening experience. And if you just want to find one of my songs on Spotify or Amazon or Apple Music, you just You type in the song that you want to hear, and it's an on-demand world. You listen to that song. Hopefully it makes you feel something, makes you feel good. And then you move on to the next one. But if you wanted to listen to the entire record, I wanted to set the intention on how I'm hoping you'll experience the songs and the meaning behind this entire project. And so asking the question and doing something that's like a bit, left of center and doing a spoken word opening monologue, I just thought was the best way to bring everybody in and say, this is where I'm at. This is my headspace. This is where my heart is. This is where my soul is. And allow the listener to then go on a journey with me for the next 45 minutes or 60 minutes, for the listening experience. So for you to comment on that, and say you found it interesting or that you even liked it, is something I'm really grateful for and I'm very proud of. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, absolutely. And if anybody's out there listening, you're probably already on Spotify or Apple. So finish this podcast and then go listen to What Is Life front to back. It's a fantastic album. It opens up great. But then you've got to check out Brett's new song. You just released this song with a group that people may or may not have heard of called 98 Degrees. It's called Ain't the Same Time. And before we get into the actual song, how did you get connected with those guys?
Well, it's all about being kind of open to collaboration and being open to what the universe, may present to you at any time. So in 2017, I was called in. This is a long story, but I'll try to make it quick. It's 2017. It's the Much Music Video Awards, the big award show in Toronto. And BB Rex and Florida Georgia Line are supposed to play their big hit. If it's meant to be, it'll be. FGL can't make it. So BB Rexa is already in Toronto and she needs a duet partner. So I fill in and do that. The guys who introduce BB and I to perform is 98 Degrees.
Oh.
We're kind of sharing a bit of a dressing room backstage where I got to know the guys a bit, but I wanted to leave them alone as well. They're massive celebrities and stuff like that. So that was my very first time meeting them. Now you fast forward, the next couple of years, and my agent and manager is Jim Cressman. Jim Cressman and Jeff Timmons of 98 Degrees are really good friends. They've worked out together. They spent time together in LA and Vegas, and Jim has booked 98 Degrees on several shows in Canada. 98 Degrees reaches out, through the grapevine, Jim hears that they may be considering doing a country record. So Jim immediately sends them this song that I've written called Ain't the Same, to which Jeff Timmons immediately circulates it with the band and Nick Lachey and Justin and Drew. And these guys love the song. Now, it turns out that they're not going to wind up doing a country record, but they still want to do the song. And get this, they ask Jim, well, yeah, do you think Brett will still do it with us? And we're like, yeah, you'll do it with me? Are you kidding me? So these guys will record their part. I record my part. And the song, as you hear it right now, actually came together in terms of the studio in a very, very, very quick way. And I couldn't be happier with how this song turned out.
Well, let's give everybody a chance to take a listen to this one. And I've got a couple more questions about it after that. But this one's called Ain't the Same by today's guest, Brett Kissel.
Baby, this truck rides better on a back road, and this beer tastes better when it's ice cold. Like a small town water tower needs a little spray paint on it. I got your name on my heart, 'cause you're all I ever wanted. The beach ain't the same without the sun, Coke ain't the same without the rum. Vegas needs them neon lights, tequila needs that lime. Smoke ain't the same without the green, guitars can't rock without the strings. Sky ain't the same without the blue, and girl, I ain't the same without you. Everybody knows a kiss tastes better in the moonlight. Making love feels better when it's all night. It's the perfect combination. Lightning strikes and thunder. Yeah, I can't imagine life without you by my side. The emptiness inside, I don't want without the other. Cause the beach ain't the same without the sun. Coke ain't the same without the rum. Vegas needs them neon lights. Tequila needs that lime. Smoke ain't the same without the green. Guitars can't rock without the strings. Sky ain't the same without the blue. And girl, I ain't the same without you. Girl, I ain't the same without you. Same without you. Girl, you're the one that I need. Like flowers need rain, like gas needs a flame. You're the wild in all my dreams. Oh, the beach ain't the same without the sun. Coke ain't the same without the rum. Vegas needs them neon lights. Tequila needs that lime. Smoke ain't the same without the green. Guitars can't rock without the strings. Sky ain't the same without the blue. And girl, I ain't the same without you. Girl, I ain't the same without you.
That one was called Ain't the Same by today's guest, Brett Kissel, featuring 98 Degrees. And Brett, you talked about the award show that you were at in Canada, and that kind of brings up an interesting question, because being a Canadian-based artist, really across any genre, it's tough to break into that U.S. market, especially in country music. You've done a good job of it, but you've definitely had more success in Canada. What is it? Is there anything specific, any piece of advice that you could give to kind of a future country music star from Canada about breaking into the scene here in America?
You know, that's a really good question. And the reality is that everybody has a different path to success. And the minute that you try to maybe write down a recipe for it, other than what I believe is, talent and hard work and commitment and sacrifice, those kinds of things are a recipe for success in any business. But in the country music business, if someone wanted to follow in my footsteps, it's going to be very difficult to do that, because my journey is so vastly different than somebody else's. So it's very difficult to actually give advice, because somebody really could get discovered on TikTok. And many have. Somebody really could just come up through the ranks and just be in the right place at the right time. Somebody could do it through songwriting and, say, I'm not really that interested in being an artist. I just want to write songs. And before you know it, this certain particular person may have written 5, 6, 7, 8 number one songs until a record label is like, I'm just going to sign you and you should be, doing your own stuff. And then boom, you've got a guy like Cole Swindell, who to a degree, I don't think really, from what I heard, really wanted to be a star. But Cole was just such a prolific songwriter, just became that way. Hardy didn't really want to become a massive star, just wanted to write songs, but obviously had this great mojo and the it factor, the je ne sais quoi about, their artistry, that they become superstars. So I really don't know if I can give advice for Canadians other than work hard, get to Nashville, start writing, hone your craft. Don't say no to an opportunity. Just do it. That's probably the stupidest thing I could have ever said. Just do it. But maybe it's the most profound thing I could ever say. Just get out and do it.
Honestly, Brett, I think you're going to go back and listen to what you just said and be like, oh yeah, I guess I did make some good points there, because you made some fantastic points there, even without meaning to, but just, lining it out like that in a way that's easy for people to consume that way, I think really kind of gives them a roadmap without giving them the roadmap. Because you're right, it is, no matter what field you're in, it's different for everybody. Not just what success looks like, but how you get there. And you laid it out pretty well. Hard work, a little bit of talent, and don't say no. I think those are just good life lessons in general.
Well, I do live by that. Of course, I can be a little bit more selective now, and I'm prioritizing my family, more than anything, because that's the most important thing to do. But still, to this day, if there's an opportunity that could lead to something, it's probably going to, but you don't know if you don't show. And so all of the times that I've wound up not going to something, I look back, whether it be on Instagram or I speak to a friend who might have been there, and I say, man, should have been there. If I was there, something could have happened. And never once do I go to an event or have a conversation in an interview or do anything where I say, well, shit, that was a waste of time, because something great almost always comes out of it.
And that is a fantastic outlook to have it. And you've carried that beyond country music. Even you and your wife have gotten into the distilling game recently with Deuce Vodka. Where did the idea for that come from, and how's that going for you guys?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, it's going extremely well. We're very proud of our company and our team. We have a lot of different flavors and a lot of SKUs, and this company is really off to the races. It started for me in early 2020, before the pandemic, where a fellow by the name of Matt Doucette, hence Deuce Vodka. Matt Doucette is from northern Saskatchewan, and this kid is an entrepreneur on steroids, and he's become my best friend. And so Matt, he said, hey, I'd love to sponsor you. And I really judged a book by its cover, but if you don't know, or if you don't show, then you'll never know. So he said, hey, just try my vodka, please. Give me a shot. So I did. And I brought him out to a show and had him backstage. And I tried the vodka that he was making, and being a Ukrainian and a guy I might only be 31, but I can sit, with my grandpa, who's pure blooded Ukrainian, and have a little sip of vodka, in after work, and know what the good stuff is and know what the bad stuff is. And I said, dude, this is amazing. And I went full Shark's Tank on him. And I said, I don't want you to sponsor me. I'm not going to let you do that. And he was deflated. I said, instead, I'm going to buy you in. And I want to become a 50-50 partner of the company. And he shook my hand. We had a deal. Then we took it across. We're in a few different provinces now. We're going to be bringing it to the United States in the next year, hopefully. And this company is just off to the races. I was able to use mine and my wife's expertise in branding and connections and marketing and publicity to, I think, launch the brand in a big way and allow Matt to work behind the scenes in perfecting an extraordinary recipe to make our vodka, I think, smoother than everybody else's.
That's fantastic. I can't wait for it to get to the States so that I can try it. But Brett, man, it has been an absolute blast hanging out with you, chatting here this afternoon. We definitely have to do it again in the future. But before we let you out of here, we end every show the exact same way. It's called the Final Four. It's probably 4 of the hardest questions I'm going to ask just because they make you think. You up for it?
100%. I love this rapid fire stuff.
It's time for the Final Four.
Question number 1. What is your favorite venue that you've ever played in?
The Ryman Auditorium, Grand Ole Opry, Nashville, the mother church of country music.
Good pick. I don't think that there's a better answer than that. Okay. How about this one? And this one's going to kind of put you on the spot. Who are the 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify or Apple playlist?
Oh, I can say that very easily. Vince Gill, I was listening to Go Rest High on That Mountain. Naomi Judd had passed away, and I was just feeling, in this somber mood. And so I just played Vince Gill's Go Rest High on That Mountain. Right before that, I was listening to Vince Gill's version of Take It to the Limit live from the LA Forum, now that he's joined, obviously, the Eagles. So I was listening to that. And prior to that, I was listening to, again, the live version of Joe Walsh singing the song In the City, obviously by Joe Walsh. And I just loved it. That live version, I felt like I was there front row at the Forums. So those are the last three.
That's good answers. Good answers. Okay. Question number 3. When you're out on the road traveling and you pass a place, what's the one place that every time you pass it, you have to stop? Gas station, restaurant, store?
Oh, yeah. Anything that's antiques. Like we talked earlier in this conversation about, how much I love tradition and the old stuff and bridging the gap, between the old and the new. And I have a kind of an office house here on our property that's connected to our main home. But the second house, I call it the Deuce Vodka house because it's the house that Deuce Vodka built. In terms of, we did well in business and we were able to kind of buy our dream home. So this second house here is all about antiques. And I told my wife, I said, I don't want anything new here if I can help it. If I'm going to have furniture, I want it to be old furniture. If it's going to be our dining room table in this house, I want it to be old. If it's going to be plates, I want it to be vintage plates from like Facebook Marketplace. So I've got trunks and antiques and old posters that I've picked up along the road, and my band and my tour manager, they are so annoyed by me because when we go out on tour and they know that one bay or a trailer is dedicated to me doing antique shopping, like American Pickers, like that's
awesome.
That's me. Like I'm picking up license plates. I bought a 1980 motorcycle and I don't have my motorcycle license. And my wife says, what the hell are you going to do with a motorcycle? And I'm like, well, this is a vintage motorcycle. This is 1980 anniversary edition of a Honda Shadow, blah, 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 blah. So I hauled that across the country to bring it back home. And I actually think I'm just going to use it as a decoration in my man cave. So like, I'm the weirdest guy, but it's got to be an antique shop.
That is a fantastic answer. You've crushed all 7 of these rapid fire questions so far. Last one for you. If you could pick one thing for people to take away from your appearance on this show or your music in general, what would it be?
Well, see, now that is the hardest question because, man, I would just say that I hope that I offered a unique perspective about my life and life in general for those listening. Whether you like my music or not, whether you agree with my views on life or not, I just hope that it was a unique perspective. And to a degree, I was able to make you smile with some of my answers, some of my anecdotes, and some of my stories.
Absolutely, Brett. It's been an absolute blast. I'm excited to get this one out for everybody, and feel free to stop on by anytime you want.
Well, I really appreciate that. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to have to do one face-to-face in Vegas when I come next.
Deal. I'm going to hold you to that one. And guys,
okay.
that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a country music podcast where you find new music and new friends like Brett Kissel and Ain't the Same.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Pisani.